Hi, welcome to Joey's Hi-Fi shop. Today we're going to be looking at this Riga P3. Now, this is my personal turntable. I've had it for about 4 years now. And you may be wondering, why am I showing you my personal turntable? Well, mainly because this P3 is kind of a quintessential hodgepodge. And what I mean by that is that it's a hodgepodge in a good way. It actually has some modifications to it that are very, very slight, things that you wouldn't know about unless you know a lot about Rigas. But what's cool today is that I'm not even going to talk about any of that, at least not till the end. What I'm going to talk about today is just, how does a turntable work? Why do we play records still in 2024 or whatever year you're listening and hearing this video? And what makes, how does a turntable work? Like, what's going on here? So let's talk about Riga in general. So this visual look has been with Riga for about 40 years at least. That would be 1984. 1985 is when this arm style came out. So almost 40 years. 39, right? So this is a RB arm. And to be honest with you, I don't know what RB stands for. I should ask them. I'm going to ask the Riga peeps. I'm going to be like, hey, what does RB stand for? Probably the distributor knows too. But this is an RB330. There's a RB300. And this is the arm. So I'm going to take, this is just, typically these are just called dust covers. You may see back there, there's a whole other brand of turntable with a dust cover on it. And these dust covers do exactly what they're called. They cover the turntable so that they don't get an exuberant amount of dust on them. Now, being made out of acrylic, they do get scratched over time. Mine's not perfect. You can buff these. If you're an automotive enthusiast, there's a bunch of different ways to buff acrylic and keep it clean. But for the most part, one of the biggest differences you can tell between a brand new Riga and a used Riga is just by looking at the dust cover. If the dust cover has no scratches on it whatsoever, it's a brand new Riga turntable. And then you have one like this where this is about 4 years old. And when you look in the light and you see reflections, but generally, I mean, I keep this clean. It's just, it gets dusty. And when you wipe the dust off, it gets little Mars in it. But that's how all dust covers are on all brands. So I don't know if this is unique to Riga. I don't think it is. But it doesn't have hinges that are connected to the bottom. So you can open this up in the hole, but you can also, this is what we're going to do for the rest of the video, you can pull them up, and they're just little tabs here, little tabs. And so that works really nicely. I'm going to put it over here. And so then we get to the turntable itself. So we have a couple of main things, right? We have the plinth, right? Or the board, whatever you want to call it. They call it a plinth. And it's this piece right here. Then you have the tone arm, and this is the arm. Sticks out, protrudes out, and actually goes underneath the plinth. There's a hole in the plinth, and the wire leads that go to your preamp or amplifier are connected. So the next part is the stylus or cartridge, and that's right here, okay? So the cartridge is this literal box looking thing up here, and then the stylus is the little needle that sticks out. This, these are pretty typical cables from Riga. This is going to be your standard RCA cables that come with the P3. If you move down to a P2 or P1, they're going to have a little less expensive of cable. And if you move up to a P8 or above, they're going to have different cables. But the P3 and 6 are going to have these cables. So one of the things that is a little different here, so we've got our mat, right? This is just the mat. It's a felt mat. This is what Riga's been using for decades. People always try and modify and use something different. I love using felt mats. One of the biggest criticisms of using a felt mat is that they do create static electricity. So when you learn to use your Riga turntable, you kind of learn how when you go to pick up your record, you kind of also put your finger between the record and the felt and you pick it up. That way you don't just go and you pick, if you just go and pick the record up, it'll kind of pick up the felt. So all these little tricks. But they've been using a wool mat for years and decades, like I said. And they have a couple of different versions, and this is the P3 and P6 and P8 version. I believe the P1 and P2 have a different felt, and then the P10 and Naya have a whole other mat. Now, what's different, I was talking about some of these mods, about this P3 versus one that you buy that's stock, is I'm a nerd, or I'm a Riga nerd. So this actually has a Riga P6 platter on it, which was this really rare upgrade they offered for a very limited time. And it's a dual laminate piece of glass. So it has two pieces of glass glued together to kind of give it this flywheel effect. And this is called a platter. This is the platter, right? I'm just going to hold it for a second. This is called the sub platter. So the sub platter, I'm going to take this belt off for a second. It'll probably be fun putting it back on with one hand. The sub platter is actually a full piece that goes right all the way into the plinth. And this is the bearing. The bearing's in here. There's a ball bearing at the bottom. When we go to put this back in, it has a little bit of oil in it. When you go to put it back in, it'll float down. So you can't see it, but it's actually floating back down. There we go. And this is how the turntable spins. It spins on this bearing. So the sub platter plays a role as you move up in turntables. The P1, 2, and 3, and 6 are going to have a single belt. And this is the AC DC motor. So it's a 24 volt motor. It's actually mounted under here. It's also where you plug in like your little power plug. And then when you move up to a P8 or you move up to a P10 or a Naya, what happens is, here I'm going to actually do this with two hands because it's impossible, basically. Or, you know, someone would be able to do it. I like to think someone would be able to do it one-handed. But I'm not going to pretend to be that person today. And so, let's get this. Yeah, there we go. And so it has this motor, and on a P8, it's going to be a double band. And then on a P10, it'll be double band. And on the new Naya, it will be a triple band. And so, so they're all different changes. You'll also notice this little brace here. This brace starts at the P3 and goes all the way up to their reference models. And they'll at the P10 it will change to a ceramic brace. So that's the basics of the turntable. So the needle at the stylus goes onto the record. Here, I'll put this back on. Goes onto the record. It vibrates. It creates a little electromagnetic. Here, comes over here. It creates a little electromagnetic vibration because of the acoustic movement, the mechanical movement. And there's little magnets and wires in here. It creates a little signal, goes through these wires and all the way down, and it comes out these RCA cables, the electrical signal. And so what happens is that thing goes to your amplifier. It gets amplified to what they call line level. That's why sometimes you need a phono section, which is like a little box. You plug it in here, and then you can plug it into your receiver or your amplifier, or all Riga amplifiers come with an integrated phono section, so you just plug it in directly. So then what you do from there is you plug your amplifier into some speakers. So for example, back here we've got a Riga I/O, so you would just plug this directly into it, and then that has speaker cable outputs, and you hook them up to your speakers. So those cables look a little different. I actually have a set right here. These are Riga speaker cables. We're going to be carrying these. We're one of the few companies in the US and in general in the world that will carry Riga Duet speaker cable, mainly because we have to build them custom for you. So what we'll be doing is we'll be ordering a ream, and then we will make some standard size cables, but you can also order cables from us in unique lengths, or if you need bi-wire or tri-wire, whatever it is that your system needs. And if you don't know, we're going to help you out. And so yeah, so the turntable to me is where things start. It's the most Riga of Riga things. They're known for their turntables. This is a white one. In the P3 you can get white, black, red, and I believe like a walnut veneer. People like that retro look. I like white, black. Leave in the comments. I have been thinking about doing some decals or stickers to kind of make them different colors, or some kind of wrap. And I thought that would be really interesting. If somebody else goes and does it before me, totally not going to be upset. But I've been thinking about it for about 4 years now. It would be really cool to get some custom wraps made that take into account the plinth and the stuff you saw underneath, and just be able to put this on. Whether I think it would be neat to do a static cling one. That way, if you're not a huge fan of it, you can just take it right back off. But that's something I'm going to be researching. But yeah, turntable, like this is where we start. This is where the music starts, and then it goes on to the amplifier and the speakers. So obviously, or maybe not obviously, I'm going to be showing you all the amplifier next, and then we'll talk about speakers after that, and some future videos. But let's do some housekeeping. Let's do some check-ins, right? Well, shop's coming along, obviously. Like I said, I'm going to be carrying Riga speaker cable. I already carry a lot of their other cables that a lot of dealers may not actually have on hand. I stock them. I have Riga couple cables, which is their current RCA cable. So if you're trying to plug in a CD player or a streamer or something like that, you can order a set of these. I also tend to get in and try and stock their old cables. So this is the generation before. There's other generations as well of RCA cables. I'm also going to try and get some of their vintage speaker cables as I find them, just because I think it's fun. I think it's cool to kind of have that and show that. I'll make videos about it. And yeah, today I'm drinking out of my Bicycle Heaven mug. Bicycle Heaven is in San Antonio, Texas. They sell specialized bicycles. They're like an authorized, specialized dealer. That's what I ride. And I'm drinking, again, some Guatemalan 5th generation coffee from here in Bryan, Texas at Tavo Coffee, which is great. Let me take a sip. Really, I love coffee. If you like coffee, drop a line in the comments. And if you have a bean that you recommend I check out, leave it in there and I'll check it out. But yeah, today just wanted to kind of go over these things in the most basic way. So we got the plinth. I showed you the sub platter underneath this, the platter, the mat, the tone arm, the cartridge, right? I showed you the RCA cables. This is how it plugs into your system. And then I showed y'all, last but not least, if not first, right, the dust cover. And so I'll for the nerds that stuck around, I'll show you some of the nerdy stuff. So for sure, the nerdiest thing I have is this platter here. And then this cartridge is actually a very, the cartridge probably costs twice as much as the turntable itself. And that's what happens when you run a hi-fi store. When you run a hi-fi store, sometimes you end up making little Godzillas. When I say Godzillas, I'm actually referencing the Nissan GTR, which is a race car slash like high-end sports car, where you can modify them and create what they call Godzillas, or these, this monster of a piece of equipment. So the cartridge here is called an AFETA 2 moving coil cartridge, and it originally came on the RP8 and I believe the RP10. So it's a really cool cartridge to have. It's vintage. The current cartridge is the AFETA 3. For the nerds out there again, if you ever need to get one of these rebuilt, let me know. I have a source. I know people that can retip your Rigas, and they've done a really good job. Last mod that I have that's super cheesy, it's like a 5 horsepower sticker in the car terms, is I have this cool little 3D printed Riga emblem that I printed out on my 3D printer. And if you like that, let me know. Maybe I'll do some 3D prints, and I can send them out to you all. I'm also thinking about getting some shirts made and some mugs, so stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you have any questions, just always feel free to ask. I hope you're enjoying some music. I've listened to a very silly band this morning. It was Little Big, Skibbity, which is a really weird, cheesy, kind of techno-esque band. And then I've also been listening to, I think, what was I listening to yesterday? Oh, I was listening to Weezer's Green album, which is a random pop album to be listening to. So yeah, hope y'all are having a good one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.